We are back. It is time to get going again on week 7 in the NFL. We're going to review all the action, all the games. Al, how you doing? You ready for this one?
Excellent, man. Yeah, looking forward to talking about this week. There's all kinds of stuff went on. Great games, tons of injuries. Man, we got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah, big time injuries. Okay. Well, Denver and New Orleans comes out in London, right? Was that in London?
No, that was a Thursday nighter.
Thursday, I'm sorry.
Welcome.
Um
Good.
33-10. What the hell? Was not expecting it. We both got it wrong. We both picked New Orleans. Um, don't look now, but the Saints are, or the Broncos are 4-3.
I that's the biggest by far the most surprising record in the league by far.
Yeah, Javante Williams looked like a functional running back.
He looked great.
88 yards with 2 touchdowns.
He looked unbelievable. It's the guy everybody thought they got when they drafted him.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah, me too.
Uh, um, Bo Nix only had 164 yards passing, but he had another 75 on the ground. Just the all around kind of an eye-opening game. Do we need to reassess Denver, or will they regress back to what we thought they were at the beginning of the year?
Well, I think here's the thing. There's not a whole lot to take from them whooping up on the Saints. The thing you and I both didn't put enough into, and I don't think we even knew because we try to be first. We missed some injuries. The Saints played without their top two receivers. Olave was out with a concussion,
Yep.
and Rashid Shaheed is out for the year. So they were sporting a B team receiver squad and doing it with a rookie quarterback who had about a game and a quarter under his belt, and he looked every bit a rookie in that game. So yeah, this was Denver doing what they should have done against a team. That team, as positioned that night with the players that were out, is the worst team in football. The
I,
Saints.
I, I would agree. And what is the outlook for any of those? I think they're going to be like this for a few weeks.
Well, Olave should come back soon from the concussion,
Right.
but Shaheed's out for the year. So they now all is right, and I say that firmly tongue in cheek to you poor Saints fans. All is right now because they addressed the missing Shaheed by signing Marquez Valdez Scantling today.
Boy, that guy's bouncing around, huh?
Oh, dude, well, they just made themselves a lock to lead the league in drops now.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. The Saints just they're not they're in big trouble. Um, Firmly in the lower muck and maybe even outside of it on the low end.
Until they get Derek Carr, they're one of the worst. Until they get him back, they're one of the worst teams in football. When he's back, I think they can maybe work their way into the lower muck.
Right. So they're out of the muck. Okay.
For now, for me, just because of Carr being there.
Alrighty. Well, by the way, that game had 11. No, I'm sorry, had 12 penalties.
Okay, well, and that wasn't the worst part about that awful game. I can't imagine watching that one as a Saints fan. That had to be
No,
tough.
no. All right. Well, let's move on then to the Patriots Jags. That one is the London game, and
Yes.
that was Jacksonville doing kind of what it's supposed to do. I mean, 32-16, double them up. Um, looked okay, but it's New England, and these are two teams outside of the mark completely. And on the bad end,
Yep.
Trevor Lawrence still only threw for 190 yards. Tank Bigsby had a nice day, 118 yards, couple touchdowns.
Yes.
And I will say one thing good for them, other than Evan Ingram at tight end. Brian Thomas Jr. is a player, and he is very, very good. Another 89 yards and a touch. That was a great pick for them, and he's not talked about with these other receivers, these other rookie receivers, but he's right there with them. He's just as good.
He absolutely is. And if he wasn't playing in Jacksonville for a terrible team right now, he would be because he certainly deserves it. He is a beast. Um, He's doing this too with a quarterback that's not playing that well. Even in this game where they destroyed another team, his stat line is mediocre at best.
Yep.
So that says a lot about the player that Brian Thomas Jr. is, and yeah, he's the real deal. This receiver class is unbelievable. It really is. There's some
Really.
players, serious players, came into the NFL this year, man. Serious players.
And Drake May,
Yes, sir.
26 for 37, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Now check this out, man. We've had two of the best looking young rookie quarterbacks in that you'll see this year in Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. And Drake May became the first rookie quarterback in I forget how long, but a long time or ever maybe to start his career throwing for over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions in his first 2 games.
Wow.
So
That's
add
fantastic.
him to the mix, and he's doing it for a team that is awful. I can't tell you how impressed I am that he's doing this well for that team. Like I've said this a couple times. My concern with Drake May when he got drafted was not the player. I liked him coming out. It was the spot, and he is overcoming the spot, and that is hard to do. Credit to him, man.
Totally, totally agree. All right, well, now listen, we got to move on to the next game, Seattle and Atlanta. We went into this game saying this was huge for Seattle. If they could somehow pull this off, and we didn't think they would uh, pull it off. By the way, we both had Jacksonville. We both got that right. We both had Atlanta in this one, and we both got that wrong because Seattle won 34-14, handily kicked their ass, and kind of made a statement saying we're still that solid team. We had a couple of bad weeks, but they're still that solid team, in my opinion. And I think this is more about Seattle than it is about Atlanta, although Atlanta didn't look all that great. But yeah, overall, I think Seattle just kind of, walked back into the room and saying, we're still here.
That's a perfect way of putting it, man. Because I was worried after last week's bad loss. They played horribly. And
Well,
didn't look good. It was their worst game of the season by far.
we were saying we
Um,
couldn't see how they can win
right.
because Atlanta
It's
looked great.
Atlanta. This was the maybe the most surprising outcome of the week to me, especially the blowout aspect of it. They did it on the road. So I don't know. I really thought Atlanta had come into their own. I thought they had there were the rough maybe 2 or 3 opening weeks. Even though they beat the Eagles some pretty early on. They were very up and down the first 3 or 4 games. Then Cousin had that 500-yard game, and they looked like they were ready to take on the world. And then they just get dusted by Seattle. So big credit to Seattle, huge win for them. I knocked the Falcons back a whisker because that's just a terrible performance. But I still think they're with Tampa as the class of the NFC South.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think this is just more about Seattle than it is about Atlanta.
Yeah, I agree. It's a heck of a performance by Seattle, and they needed it. It was much needed, and they put them right back where they want to be.
Yeah, totally, totally agree. And Bijan had a nice day though. He had 100 yards. Good to see him getting, firmly being the number one back in that Aljair, not sharing much with Aljair.
Well, now here, let's talk about that a second because I'm with you 100%. I have Bijan on I think 3 of my 7 teams, so I have a vested interest. However, let's just hope that the offensive coordinator and head coach don't look at the fact that they didn't use Algier and gave everything to Bijan and lost by 20 points and decided to go back to what they were doing.
Oh, that's true too.
I was
You're,
thinking about that. I was like, oh, God, that might not be good.
oh, you're right about that. I didn't think about that aspect of it.
I hope they don't look at it that way, but I think they might. Let's see what happens. Watch out if Algier has at least 10 carries this week. We know they thought that they had that thought too.
Uh, okay, on to a game we both got right. Buffalo takes care of Tennessee, 34-10. We both had this as pretty much a blowout, and it was, but Tennessee was ahead in this game at halftime, I believe. Is that correct?
Wait, I'll find it. I
I
don't
think
have it
they
in
were
front.
up 10 nothing at some point, maybe at the end of the first quarter. I think they scored their first 10 points all early.
Oh, it looks like you're right. Let me just make sure here. Get the scoring
It
recap.
was it was 10-7 at halftime. They were up.
Yeah, it was, and you're right. They were up 10-0 in the early second quarter. And then they didn't do bupkis the whole rest of the game, man. And I'll tell you what, there goes my theory, and I think you were with me on this. I think that Mason Rudolph would make them better.
Right.
Like they couldn't be much worse than they were in this one. So, although they were playing a very good team, but I thought Rudolph would at least make them semi-competitive, but not this week.
Josh Allen, 323, two touchdowns. James Cook came back, but wasn't very effective.
Yeah,
Keon Coleman, 125 yards, and the newly minted Amari Cooper chipped in with 66 yards and one of those touchdowns. So all in all, just a good offensive output from Buffalo, and they look good. And is Josh Allen the best quarterback in the league?
I think Lamar Jackson might have something to say about that, but it's a great argument. I mean, if you were voting for MVP right now, I think Lamar Jackson wins. But if you're just asking best quarterback, whoo, I mean, it is a tough call, man. Um, you saw
Would
what
you say?
happened this.
Would you say Josh Allen? Well, would he come in second
Oh, definitely.
to
It would
Lamar?
be it would be 1 and 1A for me, and then I'd have to think about it real hard after that.
Right, but either way, he's playing much better than I thought he would. He's eliminated the mistakes from last year where he threw all those picks. He seems a little more under control this year.
He's been a turnover. I've always loved him, but he's been a turnover machine at times, and at many times in his career.
Yeah,
Not this year, man. Not this year. He has really stepped it up. He didn't run much in this game either, which is kind of cool. Not that he didn't run, but it's that he didn't have to run. You know what I mean?
right,
That's a
right.
big deal for that team, for him not to hopefully go into the playoffs all banged up, and because he ran for 700 yards and lowers his shoulder at the end of half those runs. So yeah, he's an absolute beast, man. I think if I was building my team, I think I would take him over Lamar because you can play a little more conventional football than with Lamar, but it's it's 1 and 1A. It's tough.
Yep, yep. They look good for sure. And
They do.
not much to say about Tennessee. They're in a free fall. They're not playing well at all.
They're out of the muck, man. If they are that bad with their best quarterback playing, and sad to say for them that Mason Rudolph is their best, but he's way better than the other guy, Levis. If they're that bad with their best quarterback playing, they're screwed. They're just awful.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, they're out of the muck.
I agree.
Alrighty, let's see here. We're going to move on to the Bengals 21, Browns 14. Bengals, we got this one right. We thought they would win, but I had 20-13, so I was 1 point off on both. Um,
Nice.
but the thing is, they still didn't look that great, and Cleveland is just so bad that they're not going to beat anybody right now. And then you add on the fact that Deshaun Watson
There it is.
officially tore his Achilles. He's out for the season. But you know what? Does it matter?
Yeah, no, I think if anything, it might be a good thing for them. I mean, I hate to.
Yeah.
I don't want to take pleasure in anybody's injury, but this is how it is. Here's the ironic part of this thing. He was having his best game since he came back to the Browns by far. He was 15 for 17 for 128 yards.
Yes, he was. Yep. Now, who's going to be their quarterback going forward? Is it going to be Thompson Robinson or is it going to be Winston?
They haven't said yet that, but I have to assume it's Winston. I don't. I was stunned to find out that Dorian Thomas Robinson was the number two, and Winston was the emergency quarterback that day. That was absolutely surprising to me. Maybe
Yeah, no,
because
he
he's
got demoted. Winston was third string.
yeah. When did that happen and why? I mean,
I don't know.
there is nobody that thinks Jameis Winston isn't a better quarterback than Dorian Thomas Robinson. I mean, maybe you want him. You want to give him since he's young. You want to see what he has for a game or two. if they start him, he'll last a game or two, and then they'll eventually have to go to Jameis because he's just the best player of all of them. He might throw 17 picks in 4 games, but he's going to get the ball to his receivers
He'll
too.
probably also throw 17 touchdowns in 4 games.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yep.
You take the good and you take the bad with Jameis.
What I love about Jameis is he plays all the time like Brett Favre at his craziest.
You never know what you're going to get. Light, but on the light brighter side, good to see Nick Chubb back. Just in
That was
general,
really cool. That was
just
really cool and stunning that he came back so fast from what seemed like a really bad injury. I mean, good for him, man. He got a touchdown. He didn't do much, 11 for 22 yards, but he got a touchdown. He's back. Everything else is gravy.
yep. Oh, by the way, the last game, Tennessee Buffalo had 13 penalties. Cincinnati Cleveland also 13 penalties. I'm
Wow.
doing this as we go, so I didn't. Usually, I have it already all done, but I'm doing it game by game as we go.
Right on. Very cool. And hey, one last thing I want to point out about that game, real quick.
Yeah.
The only thing that's still real about the Browns, I think, is their run defense. They stuffed Barkley last week, who is the best running back in football this year, or second, tied second best. um, and uh,
In that range.
um, and then they held now Nick Chubb coming off an injury, but we know Nick Chubb is a damn football player, and they held him to 11 carries for 22 yards. So that's 2 weeks in a row they stuffed. Especially the Barkley one, who's not coming off an injury or anything, but they just keep your eyes on that in fantasy and watch it as it affects real football matchups too.
Yep. Burrow kind of underwhelming, 180 yards. Chase Brown underwhelming. Yeah, nothing really. I mean, T. Higgins 82 yards and a touch. I mean, pretty good day.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I mean. It's an unimpressive win for the
Very
Bengals, who
unimpressive.
are now 3-4 though.
They have worked their way back into, if they can get to 500, we can start talking about them making the playoffs again, no doubt. So,
Yes.
but they've done it
Crazy.
very unimpressively, So it just doesn't feel like it's good in Cincinnati, but I don't know what's going on.
It's crazy. We start talking to them about the playoffs.
Yeah, they were 1-4, 1-4.
Oh man. And Cleveland is firmly probably the worst team in the league, or right there.
Yeah, they're awful, and it's going to be interesting to see if what happens with Deshaun Watson moving forward, because they can't get out of that contract. But he's also coming off an injury like that. He might be ready by the beginning of next season. So is he going to start for them for 2 more years? Like, that seems absolutely bonkers to me. So I just can't wait to see how that
I
plays
don't
out.
think they can do that. I don't think they can let that happen. They gotta cut their ties, cut their losses.
You would think, but it's a guaranteed contract, and it's never happened in the NFL ever. So are they going to pay him like $70 million not to play for 2 years?
I guess. I don't know. It depends. It depends what the quarterback situation is. If they get a young kid who's exciting and they like, maybe they will.
Yeah, I'm with you there. See, that's you hit it right on the head. I think because I think the most likely scenario is they get a young quarterback in the draft, and then with their top three pick that they're going to end up with this year, and um, and then you hope he's the real deal, and he forces Deshaun Watson out by halfway through the rookie's first season.
Okay, I'm ready to move on because
Let's do
I
it.
want to get to this next game. I want your take right off the top.
Okay.
Texans, Packers. Packers win 24-22. Are you kidding me? This was a fantastic game.
Unbelievable game. Two of the best teams in football. I'll tell you the really amazingly impressive thing about this game is what the Packers did to CJ Stroud. His line, 10 for 21, 86 yards, no touch, no pick.
Yeah.
Ran for 5 times for 19 yards. That might be his worst game as a professional.
Yep. Well, the problem with them was they couldn't stop Joe Mixon.
Yes, yes. But I was listening to some local Texans talk because I was curious what the hell happened in that game as far as the passing yardage. And Tank Dell had 0 catches for 0 yards.
Yeah. 10 for 21 is awful.
It's incredible, and one of the things they're starting to get on Bobby Slowick a little bit down there. Their offensive coordinator for being too conservative. Now I don't know. I haven't seen them play a full. I've only seen them play one full game this year, so I can't. I really want to keep my eye on that because they're starting to bitch a little bit in Texan land about the offensive coordinator, which I find fascinating, given how well they're doing. So something to keep an eye on there. Really impressive by the Packers here. I mean, they're every bit as good as I think they are, and they just keep proving it. They
Yeah.
have tons of.
Now they
Sorry,
got
go
a
ahead.
kicker. Now they've got a kicker.
Yeah, they have a kicker. Yes, yes, he made a clutch field goal for once. Oh my goodness! And the guy they cut made a clutch field goal for another team that we'll get to later.
Yes.
But yeah, no, Packers are firmly one of the best teams in the NFC, no doubt about it. They're going to battle all the way to the end with the Lions, I believe.
I totally agree. They are right there, and I still think very highly of the Texans as well.
I do too. This doesn't change it that much. I think they might learn something from this game about their approach. They got to get a little more balanced. And other than that, I just think they're still a very good team who lost a tough game.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of this, they're both 5-2.
Yeah, they're both two of the best teams in football, I think. You know, two teams that have a very decent possibility to make their conference championship games.
Totally agree. Another game with 13 penalties, and let's see here. We both got it right. We
Nice.
both did pick Green Bay. I remember we were both like, this was a tough one to pick, so we just went with the home team. That
Yes.
proved to be true.
Yes, that worked out this time for sure.
All right, this is an ugly game. Indianapolis, Miami, 15-10 or 16-10.
Good lord. Good lord. I mean, just two teams that are just lost. Um, and we'll talk about Tua coming back after we talk about this game. But
Just
I mean, the Colts.
ugliness all around.
Look at Anthony Richardson's stat line.
10 for
10,
24. That's horrible.
10 for 24, Craig. I mean, that's insane. Now he ran 14 times for 56 yards. He had a very Mike Allstott like rushing line there, but
Yeah.
and so we know he does special things, but holy crap, he is a long way from being a good quarterback yet, huh?
It's just surprising because last year when he was in there, I know he got hurt, but while he was in there, he was dynamic. He was
I agree.
exciting.
I agree.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
what
what's going
happened.
on.
It's all gone.
I don't. I can't. I can't figure it out either, man. I don't know if the injury is and the fact that he takes a beating every time he goes out in the field is accumulating already. I don't know, man. I can't figure it out. Maybe it's just not as good as we thought. I don't know. I don't know.
And Snoop Huntley is terrible. 7 for 13, 87 yards. Tim Boyle comes on, 74 yards. Is Huntley out he's out now, right? He got hurt.
I don't know if he's out for the year or anything. I know he got knocked out of that game. They were winning when he was in the game.
Right.
Um, which tells you how sad their quarterback state
How
is.
about
That
this? Tyreek Hill, 1 catch for 5 yards.
well, okay, yeah, that's another guy we got to talk about. And I'm blanking. What's their coach's name? I'm blanking on his. Used to be the
Or,
Niners
um,
offensive coordinator.
Mike
The hell's-
McDaniels.
Thank you, thank you.
Um,
Um,
I'm sorry, 1 catch for 8 yards.
Yeah, you got to be crazy, dude. You can't win a game. You beat what was it, the Patriots 15-10 last week. I mean, and you're struggling to score and you can't manufacture targets for the most dynamic player in football. Like that's insane.
I mean, the other receiver, Jalen Waddle, 1 catch for 11 yards.
They have two. I mean, Tyreek Hill is in the top 3 or 4 receivers in the league on everybody's list. At least he should be. And Jalen Waddle maybe has a case as the best number 2 receiver in football. He's in a little cluster with guys like Devontae Smith and a few other guys. Um, and they can't manufacture. Give him a jet sweep or an end around or something a
They
couple times.
did one because when I misspoke about Tyreek Hill and said 1 catch for 5 yards, I was looking at the rushing. He had one rush for 5 yards.
Oh, there you go. Well, they did it one time. He got 5 yards, and they never did it again. Brilliant. I mean, what is Mike McDaniel doing? They are hurting. The one thing they did well this week is run the ball. If you look at the stat line for their running backs, Achan 15 for 77, Mostert 11 for 50, and Jalen Wright 5 for 33 yards. So their run game is okay, but I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Now,
Now, can we go, please?
yeah,
Because I think we'll be heading where I
Tua.
was.
Tua is
Yep.
on the way back.
What do you think about this, man?
I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, and listen, I'm with you. I also don't, I don't think you can stop him.
Right. I'm just concerned for the. I'm not even worried about football. I'm saying it's a bad idea for the human being.
I agree, man. And I just saw today he's not going to wear one of those bubble helmets or whatever they call them.
Yeah. What the hell are those? Those look weird.
They look fun. They're supposed to be better at helping with concussions, although I don't know that the conclusive results are in. I've seen a couple players wearing them now. The most prolific is probably a Chan. He wore it coming since he's been back from that concussion. He's been wearing it. I don't know if they're effective or not. I don't know the studies. I don't, you know what I mean? I have
Why is
no
he not wearing?
clue.
I wonder why he's not wearing it though.
He said it's a personal choice.
Uh,
And most of the people that I've heard talk about not wearing those helmets are just that it feels weird and it feels big and it feels funny. So,
right.
um,
I
you
mean,
know,
and I know we said this last time, but I think it's definitely true this time. If he gets another one, he's got to stop. That's it.
listen. I hope. I mean, I hope it never happens. But I hope if it does happen, I hope that's it. But it can, man. I mean, I just can't get that image of that freaking suplex he took a couple years ago out of my head, and he came back after that. And I mean, he looked like his brain was jelly. So I hope you're right. If it happens, I hope it never even comes up. I hope he plays 10 years without another concussion. But if it does happen, I hope you're right. I don't know if it's his decision. I don't think he'll make it.
Right. 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 All right. So we'll have to see. He's not coming. The speculation is what, in a couple weeks still, or is it next week?
He's supposed to play this week.
Oh boy.
Uh huh. He's practicing with the intent of starting this week. Here it is. Mike McDaniel says quarterback Tua Tagovailoa will practice Wednesday and is hopeful for him to play Sunday versus Cardinals.
All right.
I know, bud. I'm with you. This is scary. It's scary.
Yeah, I can imagine being a Dolphins fan where every time he takes a sack, you're going to be just cringing.
Oh, imagine being one of his offensive linemen,
Yeah.
knowing that if your guy gets past you, it could be the end of your buddy's career. You
That's
imagine?
terrible.
It's crazy, right? I mean, talk about pressure on, on an offensive lineman. It's bad enough when your quarterback gets sacked, let alone that now every time he gets touched could be the end of his career.
Yep. Um, I want to move on because this week delivered on some of the games we were really looking forward to. Green Bay, Minnesota, Green Bay, Houston was just fantastic. 24-22, great game, came down to the end. And then Detroit, Minnesota was another one we were really looking forward to, and that lived up to the hype too. 31-29. What a great game. Some of the numbers here. Jared Goff, this guy is the most accurate guy in the league. I mean, he's got to lead the league in completion percentage at this point because he had that 18 for 18 game where he didn't have an incomplete pass. And then this one, he was 22 for 25.
Incredible. Incredible.
280, two touchdowns, no picks. Jameer Gibbs, 116 yards, two touchdowns. Amon St. Brown, 112 yards. I mean, just right across the board, all the guys you want to be good, who you're probably starting in fantasy, who you're looking at, other than David Montgomery, but he got banged up, right? He left, but he came back.
Yeah, he left and came back. He didn't miss a whole lot. He missed, I think, a series or two.
So other
Um,
than him, everybody performed really well, had big, good, good games. Sam Laporta was a disappointment with only one catch, but overall, just a great stat line for the Lions and a great win for them on the road. Minnesota is for real, though. We changed our opinion of them, and rightfully so. And even though they lost this game, they lost to probably the best team in the NFC or one of them, and
this was,
they're right
I'm sorry,
there.
bud.
And
I'm
they're
100% with you. This was impressive on both teams' parts. I am more impressed, if anything. The only thing the Vikings could have done to be more impressive was actually win the game. But
right.
but they didn't lose anything in my mind. And here's some wild ass stats for how close this game was. You ready for this one? Check this out. Total yards 391 for the Lions, 383 for the Vikings. Pass yards, 247 for the Lions, 244 for the Vikings. Rush yards, 144 for the Lions, 139 for the Vikings. And there's more. One turnover each, dead equal. Time of possession, 30 minutes and 57 seconds for the Vikings, 29 minutes and 3 seconds for the Lions. Are you kidding me? The game
well,
doesn't get any closer than that.
well, how about this? I'm looking at the team stats too. Sacks allowed, 4 for the Vikings, 4 for the Lions.
Boom.
Point
Boom.
average yards per play, 7 yards per play for the Lions, 7 yards per play for Minnesota.
That's crazy, man.
Even the penalties. There were 16 penalties in this game. Obviously, too much. They each had eight. Eight
Oh
to
no,
eight.
that's crazy, man. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's amazing.
Oh, I mean, just because now it's getting ridiculous. For fun, third down efficiency is also listed here.
Hmm.
Both the same amount, 40% for both.
I mean, that's crazy. They all ate at Applebee's after dinner too. By the way, like what the
Great.
hell? By the way, Jared Goff is second in the NFL in completion percentage. You want to guess who's first?
Who is first?
And by the
Uh,
way, he is second with 73.6 completion percentage. Wow.
that's bonkers.
Yep.
Who is first? Oh man.
I wouldn't have got this.
Um, did he play this week or was he on a bye?
He played.
I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go chalk here and just say Mahomes.
Excellent guess. He is eighth in the league this year at 67.8%. It is Jaden Daniels,
Oh my God.
75.6%.
Jesus, this kid.
I know.
Wow.
That's freaking nuts. Freaking nuts. So anyway, I just had to throw that at you while you brought it up. That was a great call about his completion percentage.
Wow, wow. But yeah, this is one of those games, reasons why we love the NFL. I mean, this is great.
Yeah,
Great to
this is
see.
beautiful game. I mean, just awesome. I love it.
But
This is
but I did, as I'm watching it, freaking penalties are popping up a lot, they're ruining a lot of the things that are happening. But I was still able to enjoy this game. I didn't get too frustrated with them. But still, 16 penalties. Come on, what are we doing?
yeah, it's too much. It's too much. Absolutely. I hate it.
Well, all right, I want to move on to the next game here because you need to go. You need to talk about your Eagles here. 28-3, dismantling of the New York Giants. I think this is basically, I become like, a therapist. How do you feel about this?
I love it. I love it.
How does 28-3 make you feel? Because that's what I said last week too. And how do you feel about this? Because, by the way, I also found out a little tidbit, and I'm sure you know, the Eagles haven't scored a point in the first quarter all year.
Yeah, and that included this game that they won handily. So yeah, no, they have first quarter issues for sure. But I'll tell you, this was the game I was waiting for all year. This is the
Yeah,
first time they looked like the team I thought they could be coming into the season. Um, the Giants were just awful, and I love it. And they're also absolutely screwed because Andrew Thomas is out for the year. And
yeah,
it tells you how much of a better organization the Eagles are right now than the Giants, that they were both missing their all pro left tackles. And the Eagles, you barely noticed that they were missing them, Jordan Mailata, and the Giants couldn't function at all.
right.
So, plus the Eagles lost their starting right guard on the first series of the game, Mekhi Becton. So, and then they still just absolutely, you got to love what Barkley did. I mean,
Oh,
come on.
107. But you knew he was fired up for that game. 176 yards, touchdown, just and another couple catches too. Just yeah, he was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic, solidifying himself as one of the top two receivers, running backs in the league probably. And no slowing down. He looked absolutely fantastic. Hurts didn't. I mean, he didn't do much. He didn't wasn't needed to do much. I mean, 10 for 14, 114 yards and one touchdown is not anything to write home about. Uh, but he got two more touchdowns on the ground with some tush pushes.
Yep.
And like I said, he wasn't needed to do much. Kenneth Gainwell actually got 13 carries. Barkley 17 carries, so that's why he was only 10 for 14. Um, I angered me for my fantasy team because he's my quarterback. But other than that,
I love
he's
it.
killing
Yeah.
me. By the way, he's killing me. He's killing me.
Yeah, no, that does not surprise me. He is, like I said before, the 15 touchdown season he had last year will probably never happen again. That was just a confluence of events. And listen, they're going to be behind in games this year that he'll be good fantasy quarterback. But when you stomp the Giants, there's no reason. He did exactly what was asked of him. Talk about a quarterback that is cutting out their turnovers. Finally, thank
Yep.
you.
Yep.
And the other thing that happened this week is the Eagles pass rush. 8 sacks. Eight
Eight,
sacks.
8 sacks. Although the Giants had five, but I think they were all in the first half. But that first quarter, one of the reasons why you didn't score is because they were going sack for sack with them.
Right, absolutely. And we know the Giant. Dexter Lawrence is one of the best players in football. Um,
Yep.
that D line and the whole front is no joke. But they, once they started running the ball on him, game over. And that's why Jalen Hurts only threw the ball 14 times because they didn't need to, and they were getting, he was under the gun when he was throwing. So um, here's another fun stat. They held the Giants to 119 total yards, which is the Giants' fewest since 1999.
I mean, just absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, they're awful. And I love that I'm sorry, Daniel Jones had the nerve to kind of bitch about being yanked. Did you catch that?
I did not see that.
Yeah, he got yanked. He got
Well,
replaced.
no, no, no. I knew that he got yanked and replaced. I just didn't know he bitched about it.
Yeah, it wasn't awful. It wasn't egregious, but it was basically like, yeah, I didn't like it. I thought I should have been in there or something like that. For him to have the balls to say really anything about getting yanked the way he plays is just, I think, a little silly.
Yeah, 14 for 20, 21, 99 yards. But I will say this. I think we can firmly say Daniel Jones is better than at least one quarterback in the league, and that's his backup, Drew Lock. He
Yeah,
looks horrible.
he is. He stinks.
So Daniel Jones, right now, I think he's got pretty good job security, to be honest.
Yeah, they're not getting any. Yeah, they don't have anybody better that they're going to be clamoring for behind him. That's for sure. You're right.
He was 3 for 8 and just looked hurried and rushed, and he just looked bad. I mean, I guess they could go to him. I guess it's not entirely out of the realm, but judging by this game, Jones is better than him.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And that's not saying a whole lot, but yes, I completely agree. Completely agree. And
Eagles
that's
dominated time of possession too, 35 minutes.
this was as thorough an ass whooping as you'll ever see. It
Yeah,
really was. There's nothing negative to say about the Eagles in this entire game, and there's nothing good to say about the Giants in this entire game except their pass rush.
11 penalties. By the way, it has been something like, and I don't know the exact number now, but it's been like 660 days since Daniel Jones has had a TD at home.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, he hasn't thrown the way they put it that I liked was he hasn't thrown a touchdown at home since he signed that contract.
That's insane.
Can you believe that?
That is crazy.
I mean, good lord, dude. I mean, talk about one of the just worst signings ever. I mean, it has put them behind the
Why
eight
is it
ball
at
for
home? Because
years.
he has thrown on the road, obviously. But so what? What the hell? Why?
It doesn't make sense. It's like the cowboy thing, just where it just completely flip flop from last year doesn't make sense, and the Giants not winning at home doesn't make any sense at all. Like you'd think the Meadowlands should be, or whatever they call it anymore, which should be a big home field advantage with those swirling winds and and just things that you should be used to because that's your home. I don't know. It's weird to me. I don't get it.
By the way, we both got this one right. We both got Detroit right, and we both got Indianapolis right.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know if I've been saying that. Another one we got right. The Rams, 20-15 over the Raiders. We both got it right, but again, the Rams didn't look good either. The Rams are not what I thought they would be, and yeah, they beat a bad team. They were at home, and they're not a very good team themselves.
No, I agree. I agree. They have a chance to get back to the team we thought they might be, although it's probably too little, too late. But they have a chance to get back there over the next couple weeks because Cooper Cup is playing Thursday, and
Yep.
Puka's coming back in the next couple weeks if things go according to the original plan. Although I've heard some whispers that he might be out for the year, so let's see where that lands. But if they get both of those guys back over the next 2 or 3 weeks, they could end up playing by the end of the year like the team we thought they would be, but they are not right now. No, they squeaked by a team you and I think both think is one of the worst in football. So I'm with you.
And Connell, he's out now, right?
He broke his thumb on his throwing hand. He is out for at least a month.
Right. Back to right back to the mustache.
Yeah, right back to the mustache. Who, by the way, came in relief this week and went 15 for 34, no touchdowns, 3 picks. I mean,
Oh God!
I mean that's brutal, dude. I mean he's actually playing like Uncle Rico now. He doesn't just
Wow.
look like him.
I mean, you got Brock Bowers with 10 catches and 93 yards. I mean, that kid's a stud. But
Stud.
Alexander Madison also 92 yards. That's really all to say there. But Matthew Stafford wasn't, impressive either.
No,
154 yards, no touchdowns, one pick. I mean, what are we doing? Kyron Williams, 76 yards, a couple touchdowns. They won this game because of those picks. Is what I'm assuming, what I'm
it
thinking.
had to be right. It had to be.
Right.
I'm 100% with you.
If listeners can't tell by now, we didn't watch this game. Neither of
No,
us did.
and you'd have to rig me up to that Clockwork Orange contraption that got Alex to stop listening to Beethoven to get me to watch that game.
Okay. Well, that one had 13 penalties. I'm going to try to add these up and see what the average amount of penalties are now.
Yeah,
Anyway,
and it's funny because I tried to look up the average amount of penalties per game in the NFL this season, and I can't find an answer.
I'll do it. I'll do the work.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
All right. Let's move on. What's the next? Oh, all right. I looked up Jaden Daniels updates, and right now there's no update. It's just he's week to week. They hope he can play next week. I think the league hopes he can play. I think we all hope he can play next week because next week they're playing the Bears, and good Lord, I cannot wait for that matchup. But he needs to be playing, otherwise it's a big letdown if he doesn't.
100% with you, my man. Let's just hope this isn't the beginning of injury issues for a skinny mobile quarterback. I really hope this is just a one-time, sort of thing that happens. He did it on a 42-yard run too, which I mean, he's just a spectacular player. Um, yeah, the really impressive thing for the Commanders is that now it was against the Panthers, and you could maybe trot out the owner's grandson and still beat the Panthers, but they did it with Marcus Mariota at quarterback, and they destroyed them 40-7. It wasn't like they limped all along without Jaden Daniels, so this was very impressive. Um,
Yeah, because we know Marcus Mariota is not very good.
no, he's one of the he's if in the right system, he's a top third backup in the NFL.
Yeah,
That's the best I
yeah,
can say
he's a
about him.
solid backup, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I'll say about Marcus Mariota. But if he's in the wrong system, he's still like he's got to be in a system that works for him, and apparently this one does. So good on him. That's about as well as you'll ever see him play right there.
Yeah. Um, yeah, offensively, not much to say for the Panthers. Andy Dalton was bad. Mariota, 205 yards, couple touchdowns. Brian Robinson, 71 yards and a touch. Um, I guess Austin Eckler is just done. He's just toast.
Yeah, I don't think he's toast. I think it's the coaches. Like
He's one of the best players in the league in the last couple of years.
I don't. If they're not, listen, they're in contention, so they're not going to even consider it. But if they're not going to use him, I kind of wish they would trade him to somebody that would. He's too good a player to just be getting 4 touches a game or whatever it was this week. I mean, it's crazy.
He had four rushes and two catches for a
Yeah,
total of 20 yards.
that's crazy. I mean, 6 touches a game, that's nuts. So, and I like Brian Robinson Jr., but they should be they should be as close to a 50-50 split as any backfield in the NFL, I think, personally.
Yeah. To be honest, when they signed him, I was like, "Oh, Brian Robinson is screwed. Eckler's going to be the guy."
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure because anybody that signs a 30-year-old running back, you don't know what they're planning on unless he's Derrick Henry. You're not sure what their plan's going to be. But listen, as soon as you see that he looks good like he used to, which he has this year at times, you got to give him the ball. I don't know. I don't get it.
How,
But
how, how
listen,
about this? 421 total yards for Washington and 180 for Carolina.
and okay, so you hit my second favorite stat of this game. My favorite is Dalton was, that little bump they got from the red rifle seems like 100 years ago now, and he went 11 for 16 for 93 yards and two interceptions in this game, which led to Bryce Young's first appearance since he got benched. And you know what Bryce Young did? 2 for 2 for -4 yards. I mean, what the hell?
Wow. All right. Washington just dominated. 35-minute time of possession. 14 penalties in this one. We have not had anything under 10. Nothing.
Man, well, at least they're consistently bad.
Yes. Um, yeah, just dismantling Carolina. I mean, back, they're the worst team in the league probably, or right there with any of them.
No doubt.
And Washington, I gotta say it, probably one of the best teams in the league. They're 5-2.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely the real. They it's hard to pick them apart much at all. Even their run defense, which was one of the worst in football a couple weeks ago, is now. Wait, I wrote it down somewhere. Where did I write that? They're now the 19th rush defense, which, while is nothing to write home about, it's pretty good when 3 weeks ago you were 31st.
Right, right, right. That's market improvement.
Yep, and their pass defense is 12th. So they already had a decent pass defense. They just needed to improve the rush, and they're doing it. So, they're a legit contender to win this NFC East, which I can't believe I'm saying, but it's absolutely true.
Okay, let's move on. Okay. If I told you that Patrick Mahomes was going to go 16 for 27, 154 yards, no touchdowns, and two picks in San Francisco, what would you say?
I would have thought the Niners won by 20.
Well, Kansas City won by 10.
The Chiefs are fascinating this year. Absolutely fascinating.
I don't care what anybody says. I know they're undefeated. They 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 don't look good at all. I watched the game again, and I'm sitting there going, "This is not the Chiefs. It doesn't look right. Nothing looks right. Patrick Mahomes doesn't look right." But they did it last year. I understand that, but they didn't. I think last year was better than this year.
Now,
But man, I can't see them winning the whole thing again. I just can't. I
yeah,
can't
I
even see
think
them making this. Maybe win one playoff game. They look like they're in mud, but they keep winning. They keep finding a way. It's so weird. And San Francisco shot themselves in the foot. Brock Purdy 3 interceptions. That's why they lost.
Brock Purdy's not playing well this year.
He really is not. Now Debo came back or was about to come back, but he ended up not playing.
He played 3 snaps.
Right, that's what it was. And we know whenever he goes out, their offense is kind of in shambles.
And it didn't help that Ayuk tore everything in his knee at later in the game. He also dropped a beautiful pass
Right.
on a 3rd and 10, I think it was, or something that would have gotten 30 or 40 yards. But Ayuk is now out for the year. Debo is in the hospital fighting pneumonia as we speak. Um, and they are just they are not I don't know where you stood after last week, but last week I thought that was the beginning of them reestablishing themselves as the Niners that we know. It clearly wasn't after this
No,
week.
no. McCaffrey's about to come back though.
They're saying he's saying maybe after the bye week, which is the closest thing I've heard to anything concrete since he went out.
Okay.
So which I think their bye is week 9. So start thinking about McCaffrey for week 10.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they don't look right. They and this was at home too. Um, two teams that just one team is finding ways, but both teams just don't. They're not what we thought, in my opinion. Anyway, Kansas City, the record is what we thought, but they're on the play. They don't pass the eye test.
Yeah, see, I'm not with you. I'm not with you because I think they look roughly the same as last year, except their defense is even better.
Well, I will say that the defense is fantastic. It is probably better. I was talking offensively. I should have clarified.
No, no, no. I'm
Their
with you on
defense
that.
is very good.
And I'm with you there. That makes sense. I mean, but offensively, I still think they're roughly where they were last year. They looked awful last year. They looked horrible, and it's not much better this year. But it's not any different. I mean, they're
I don't
uh,
think last year I ever saw a stat line of 154 yards, no touchdowns, and two picks.
yeah. I'd have to disagree. I mean, we could look it up. We'd have to look it up because right now we're just talking out of our asses. But which
Yeah.
hey, I mean, it's part of doing podcasts. You have to be able to do that, or you can't do podcasts. But maybe what we should do is, and I'll do it. Is next week but for next week's podcast, I will find Mahomes through 8 games or whatever it is. And we'll look at 2023 and 2024. It's because I'm curious now too, because he didn't play that well last year. I mean, he was. I don't remember this exact stat line, but it was one of his worst seasons statistically of his career, maybe the worst, I think.
Yep.
So, um,
And Travis Kelsey is just, he might I think he's done.
well, no, I see. I don't think he's done because he's had a couple really good games this year. The problem is, as soon as Rasheed Rice came out, they triple cover him on every damn fucking play. Sorry, wow, that slipped out. That dude is getting so much attention, it's insane. And because they don't, I mean, Oh, by the way, Juju Smith Schuster, who emerged as looked like he might be their new number one receiver 2 weeks ago, uh, played one snap and went out of the game with a hamstring injury.
Yep. He's
So,
questionable.
yeah, so the other thing you got to, and it sounds like he's going to miss at least a game. I'm pretty sure oh no, not sounds like it's definite. They already ruled him out this coming week. Um, so when we're looking at Mahomes too, you got to factor in they're down their number one receiver. They're down their number two receiver, I guess, Juju. I don't know who, like, it's just weird, man. Now, the other thing, Chiefs, watch out because their number two cornerback broke his multiple things in his leg and he's out for the year now. So this awesome defense might take a little bit of a hit on that. I'm not sure how much that's going to matter because their number one guy, Trent McDuffie, is one of the best corners in football. I'm not sure how good the guy that went out was. I'm really not. I don't know him well enough to say.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Just I don't know. I don't know. For me, they're worse than last year offensively, but we'll have to look it up. Even if not, even if it's the same or whatever, it still is not what we've come to know from them the last 2 years.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. And they won the Super Bowl last year.
Right. Right.
So what do you make of that? Like what in the world?
That was shocking to me. I did not expect it. And I don't expect it this year either.
Yeah,
But they'll probably prove me wrong and win the whole thing again. Who knows?
right, right. Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, it's wild. It's a crazy way to be winning games right now. Yeah,
Oh,
and let's talk real quick before we move on from that one.
yep.
Let's talk about the Niners because they are now without Ayuk for the rest of the season. Debo, I'm hopefully he'll be all right from his pneumonia and be able to play next week. But they got Ricky Pearsall back, which was a cool story. That's the one thing I wanted to mention before we move
Oh,
on.
he's the kid he got shot, right?
Yeah, he got shot like during preseason, I think it was, or during training camp, and finally was able to make his debut. He got 3 passes for like 30 some yards, and just cool to see him on the field.
I agree. Yeah, it is
And
very
that
cool.
his emergence is going to be huge if he can with Ayuk out the rest of the season. There's a hole there waiting to be filled.
Yep. Oh man. Yeah, they're in trouble, but don't worry. The remedy's coming this week. That's for sure. They can beat Dallas in their sleep. So
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I was blanking for a second. That's right. Yeah, especially since they're playing them at home for the 97th straight time.
right, which makes a lot of sense, by the way. Okay.
Oh man.
Um. there was 10 penalties in that game and 9 penalties in the next game we're going to talk about. I gotta say, the New York sports radio is very fun right now because they are losing their minds about their football teams. Plus, the Mets lost, so the only thing they've got is the Yankees right now. And I guess if you want to count the Liberty one, actually won a championship. But yeah, who expected this? We both picked Pittsburgh, but I had 14-13. You had 19-17. And they're like, no, 37-15.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. Well,
And Russell came back and did what I kind of thought. I figured when he comes back, you watch, because he's Russell and it kind of stings to that, Josh Fields is not getting the chance. But he comes out 264 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And he looks like Russell Wilson.
yeah, that was impressive. Listen, he grabbed this job. He grabbed it right in 1 week. Now it's crazy because he was getting. It sure seemed like the Pittsburgh Steelers fans were on the same page as me going into this game because he was awful in the first three drives. Awful.
Yep.
And not that it was unexpected. He hadn't played in a year, so over a year or whatever, or however long it's been. Since the end of last season anyway. So not unexpected, but they were full boo every time he did something bad, and then he threw one of those patented Russell Wilson freaking teardrop lollipop fall out of the sky bombs. And the thing I said a couple weeks ago is that if Russell Wilson starts playing, Pickens is way more viable in fantasy, and it happened. And I have him. He's been sitting on my bench in 5 of my 7 leagues. He will now be starting in most weeks in 5 of my 7 leagues.
Yeah. 111 yards and a touch. Yep.
Yeah, and he's the perfect guy for Wilson because he has that AJ Brown contested catch thing that he's one of the best in the league at, and Russell loves to toss it up and see who can get it. So yeah, listen, I've been as vehement about Josh Fields as anybody, but Russell grabbed this job, and it is now his to lose.
Yep. Najee Harris, 102 yards and a touch as well. I mean, they just looked great. You go to the other side. Um, Aaron Rod, something. I mean, this guy's throwing more interceptions than he's ever thrown. He
Yeah,
threw
it's weird.
2 more interceptions, another touch, or one touch. 276 yards isn't terrible. 24 for 39, not great, not terrible either. Um, Brees Hall did not. He really couldn't do anything on the ground, but Brees Hall did redeem himself with 103 yards through the air,
No doubt.
catching 6 balls. But I mean, Garrett Wilson, 61 yards. Devontae Adams on his first game, 30 yards. Mike Williams, the ghost of Mike Williams, he's pretty much gone. One catch. And yeah, I think what's going on now is this defense for the Jets is not what it was last year, not what we thought it was. And they've gotten thrashed a few times, manhandled, and Pittsburgh's defense is for real and better than theirs.
No doubt about it. Yeah, the Jets defense was grossly overrated coming into this season, and I was guilty of it too. Um, I'll say one thing about Rodgers' interceptions. Listen, he's not playing like overwhelmingly awesome, not even close. But one of those picks bounced right off of Garrett Wilson's chest.
Right.
Um, so that give him a little break there. But this Jets team is a disaster. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, they're a freaking disaster. I don't know what to say about them. They are
They're-
just.
yeah, they're in the lower muck, and if they're not careful, they're going to be out of it completely, out of the muck.
I won't be picking them against any team over 500 the rest of the season. I don't care if they're at home or not.
Yeah, totally agree. Um, They've got a couple of get right games in the next few weeks, but right smack in the middle of that is a game against Houston that they have almost no chance to win in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. 100%. That team's in a whole nother class.
Yep, pretty disappointing, I got to say.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more.
I was curious last year. We got robbed of it, uh, and so the curiosity spilled over this year. How are they going to be with him as their quarterback? How's he going to be? and it's been a complete disaster. Got his coach fired. And here's another thing: it's strange, but I think they kind of missed Robert Sala because the defense was better with him. He's the
Yeah, no,
defensive guy. I think they actually are missing him.
you might be right, and they made the defensive coordinator the head coach, which means he's not able to pay attention to the defense as much, so that's hurting too.
And the
So
defense is suffering
it's a
because of
double
it.
whammy. I'm with you. I am with you. And listen, there is zero excuse for Aaron Rodgers or this offense anymore. You think about this. They have Brees Hall at running back, who I don't think there's anybody in the world that doesn't think he's a top 5 running back in the NFL. But think about the receivers. Last night they lined up, or 2 nights ago, they lined up Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, one of the best number 3 receivers now in football, has to be, and Mike Williams, who was San Diego's number 2 receiver for 8 years. That's 4 guys who have been, I think Mike Williams and Lazard, forget, I was going to say something that's not true. I'm going to take it back. But 4 very good NFL receivers. That's 4 good weapons, and Brees Hall, and they can't do bupkis on offense. That's crazy.
It's always like when you see this and you look at these things, it's almost like they got to get it right eventually, right? Like they can't be this inept for this long. Like you would assume at some point they're going to get it right, but there's no indication of that at all right now.
I know, and the one thing I can say on their side is they just got Devontae Adams this week, so maybe with a week or two of him settling in, maybe it opens things up like you hope. But I don't see much indication they're going to be a whole lot better than they are right now.
Yeah. Um. Here's a funny little stat: Devontae Adams has the distinction of losing to the same team 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, that's funny, man. That's right. That's right. And that's a good one.
He lost to Pittsburgh when he was on the Raiders, gets traded, and they're playing Pittsburgh again. And he loses again to them.
He's going to be seeing yellow or gold and black in his sleep.
All right, let's move on.
Do it.
Baltimore, Tampa Bay, 41-31. But I got to say, um, Baltimore had this one at the end of the third quarter. This was over, but Tampa Bay, to their credit, they come back a little bit to make this respectable. They scored 21 points in the fourth quarter, so good on them for that. But this was at home, and we both picked Baltimore to win. We were both obviously right, and we were pretty kind of close on the scores. But either way, kind of went how you'd expect. Lamar Jackson, 281 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. Um,
Unbelievable.
Derrick Henry, 169 yards.
On 15 carries.
Yeah, 11 yards of carry average.
He's now averaging almost 7 yards a carry for the season, Craig. That's insane.
Bateman, 121 yards. Yeah, Henry actually caught a ball for a touchdown. He never catches.
Yes, yes. Oh, I love it, man. I
Yep.
love it.
The ghost of Mark Andrews had two.
Yeah, he's back. That's 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games.
Yep. Zay Flowers just disappeared for this game. So did Justice Hill. But I mean,
Zay tweaked it. He caught a pass early and tweaked something.
oh, okay.
He went sprinting off the sideline in pain, and then he came back and had one other. I think he had one catch and one run. But yeah, that injury must have been what it was because he wasn't on the field a whole lot after that.
And Baker Mayfield, 31 of 45, 370 yards.
Yeah, yeah, and like 270 of those yards were in that fourth quarter when nothing mattered. Like some of these stats are real garbage time stats, and that's the case with Baker's stats. He did not have one of his better games.
Yeah,
He threw
three touchdowns, but
no worries.
all right. Sorry about that. Had a call.
All good, all good. Yeah, we were talking about Baker and his garbage time stats.
Yes, he had 370 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. But you're right. He
And
did not have one of his better games.
the 2 picks were when it mattered. The 2 of the 3 touchdowns weren't.
Yep. K. Dot 100 yards. Rashad White 71 and 2 touchdowns. But you're right. Mike Evans didn't only had one catch.
Well, he went out with a terrible hand. He came into the game with a hamstring injury, and he was
Oh,
questionable.
that's
The
right.
game time decision. He caught a touchdown pass on the first drive of the game. Um, you could tell he tweaked his hammy on it, but he stayed in the game. He was waving people off on the sideline like medical people. Then the very next drive, he laid out full extension for a catch. He had his hands on it, didn't catch it, and he went out like he got shot in the back of the thigh. Like it was that looks like a hammy that's going to keep him out for weeks. I'm no doctor, but it looked
Yeah.
like one of those.
Um,
Um,
Baltimore had 500 yards of offense.
they they looked unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. Um, I just was so impressed by them. And the other thing I want to say, that comeback, that 21 points in the fourth quarter by the Tampa Bay, unfortunately led to them still acting like they were in the game 10 points down with 50 seconds left, which just cost Chris Godwin his season.
Right, because he what did he tear his
It was an ankle. He dislocated
oh, he
his
dislocated his ankle. That's right.
and it was so ugly that they didn't show the replay. And they said it in the booth. They were like, "Yeah, we're not going to show this. This is awful." So it must have been really bad. It's such a shame because Godwin was just in the last 2 years getting back to form off that horrible knee injury he had like probably 4 years ago now, and he came all the way back. He was leading the league in receptions, and boom, he's out for the year.
Uh, yeah, that's terrible.
That's a
Terrible.
shame. That's going to affect this team big time. Like these injuries, uh, really affect my opinion of Tampa Bay moving forward.
I agree. I agree. Unfortunately, if they didn't have the injuries, I'd chalk this up to just running into a buzzsaw team and move on, and still
Yes,
be think of them pretty much the same way. But I don't anymore. These injuries are going to hurt.
I agree 100%. It's going to be big. There, Godwin out for the year. Mike Evans looked to me like he's going to miss at least 2 or 3 weeks. We'll see. Who knows? But I can't even imagine this team playing without both of those guys very successfully.
Yep. Okay, well, the Jets in Pittsburgh only had 9 penalties, the low for the week. But don't worry, the NFL made up for it because Baltimore Tampa Bay had 17.
And it felt like every bit of that watching it. And it was a great, it was it wasn't a great game, but it was a really fun game to watch because Baltimore was playing so well, and the flow. This is why I thank God for the DVR because every time I saw yellow come out, I just fast forward 30 seconds and pick it up on the next play. But yeah, it's gross.
Yep. Um, by the way, we both got Kansas City, San Francisco wrong because we both picked San Francisco. We both got Pittsburgh right. We both got Baltimore right. And then the last game we're going to talk about is Arizona and the Chargers. We both got this one wrong, thinking that the Chargers were going to win. But Arizona comes back and wins 17-15 in the game. I will say I did not watch at all.
And nor could you unless you pay for ESPN Plus because it wasn't aired.
Right. But that's fine because this game did nothing for me coming in.
No, me either. I just like to bitch when because what's the point of two Monday night games if you're not going to air one of them?
Right. They and plus you also have the networks. You have ESPN and ESPN2. So why not where I don't
Yeah,
get it.
I'll put it on the damn Ocho for crying out loud. I mean, like, put it somewhere. Yeah, it's just it's very odd. No big deal, but very odd.
Yeah. Um yeah, this is just an ugly game. Kyler Murray 145 yards, a touch and a pick. James Conner 101 yards. I mean, eh, nothing really. I mean, Marvin Harrison had 3 catches for 20 yards. I mean, nothing here for the Cards. Somehow they pull it off. I mean, Justin Herbert threw for 349 yards. How did they
Yes.
lose this game?
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. They kicked a lot of field goals, obviously,
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
red zone offense is definitely a concern in San Diego for sure. My God, I just saw that Jalen Rager had a catch for San Diego in this game. I didn't even know he got cut from the Patriots in training camp. So I can't believe he latched on.
Wow.
Holy crap. And for those of you who don't know Jalen Rager, by the way, any listeners out there, that's the guy the Eagles took one spot ahead of Justin Jefferson.
How'd that work out?
Yeah, it worked out great.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so the two things about this game, I saw some highlights. The Kyler Murray run for a touchdown was pretty spectacular. That dude, I don't know what to make of this guy. He's one of the toughest guys to figure out in this league. His stat line, more often than not, looks like ass on the passing end. Um, but then he busts out a 45-yard run for a touchdown where it looks, because his legs are so tiny, he looks like he's moving faster than any player in football when he runs.
Yes, he does.
and I get a kick out of watching him play. But he's developed zero chemistry with Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't understand it. If you had told me there were going to be three rookie receivers tearing up the league and Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't one of them, I would have taken that bet all day long. I mean, that's just crazy to me that he's not doing well. James Conner was the real story of this win. If you anybody that didn't see how they got into field goal position to win this game with 2 seconds left, check it out. Connor, they throw a little swing pass to Connor from their own like 30-yard line. He just ran over the entire defense and got it right into field goal position down at like the other 30, 25-yard line. Boom, field goal, they win the game. So Connor is a beast. Other than that, this is two mediocre teams. I still think of the Chargers kind of um, positively in Harbaugh's rookie season. But what I don't know now is like what's up with their offense. Their defense is solid, very solid. Their offense is bad. So I'm curious how that evolves.
Yep. Yep. Uh, for the Chargers, J.K. Dobbins led the charge on the ground, but he only had 40 yards. Excuse me. Yeah, just a whole lot of nothing in this game. Not a whole lot to two teams firmly in the muck, and
Yeah.
the Chargers are 3-3, and Cardinals are 3-4, and good on them for getting the win. I still don't think much of them,
Same.
really either team, but they're going to get some wins here and there for sure.
And how about the fact, Craig, that the Cardinals have the same record as the 49ers right now?
That's crazy.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
My goodness. All right. Well, the the review of Week 7.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Is there anything we missed on that one?
I don't think so, man. I think we did a pretty thorough covering here, and what a great! I mean, just some great games. Some of the marquee matchups delivered. Some things got clarified. Some things got even more confusing. I love the NFL.
I do too. Oh, by the way, our we both whiffed on our upsets. You had Houston, and I had Tampa Bay, and neither
Oh,
of them
that's
really
right.
touched.
Yes, yeah. Big bagel on the upsets this week.
Right. I did not add up what we did. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had 11 wins. Oh, we had the same amount. That's right. This is the week we did not disagree.
Oh, we didn't disagree. Yeah, and I didn't throw my usual like caveats out there and stuff. So yeah.
So we both went 11-4.
Hey, not bad. Not bad.
Not bad. 2 weeks in a row. Pretty good records.
Yes, we're reestablishing our credibility, Craig.
Our impeccable credibility.
That's right. That's right.
All righty then. Well, we're all set. Um, Listeners, please join us for the preview of Week 8. It's already freaking Week 8. I don't know how that happened, but it's already Week 8. We're gonna preview that. That podcast will be out shortly after this one comes out. We release them both relatively early in the week, midweek, about Wednesdays usually is when we get them done. And this one will be out earlier, and then later in the day, the preview one. Al, anything else to add before we sign off here?
No, I'm good to go, man. Looking forward to our what is it, Week 8 preview.
Yep, yep, for sure. Okay, until next time, I will see you later.